Okay, we are live. Welcome to the Mastermind entitled Turning Adversity into an Advantage, which is a John Maxwell series. We've actually been meeting every other week or so and have had a great time of sharing and learning, so much so that we decided to include you, our friends, our family, in the social media world in hopes of encouraging and sharing with some more people. So now we were actually introduced to this series by Robin Lewis. And before I introduced him, he's our moderator, and he's also the executive director of the John Maxwell team. But I do want to encourage you to participate today in the chat so that you can become a part of the conversation. I will be monitoring and including your comments into our conversation today. And with that, I am going to hand it over to you, Robin, to take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Good to see you all again, Michelle, Dwayne, good to have you together, and everybody else out there. We're glad that you can kind of look in. As Melissa mentioned earlier, I think we're going to play a short little video where John Maxwell is actually going to do a teaching today. It's going to talk about turning adversity into advantage. And he's going to share a couple of perspectives. And I think the best part of the whole thing is after we watch the video, we're going to have some rich discussion. And I'm with a group of people that, as we were moving forward with this, I said, you know what, you guys are sharing such good stuff. We need to share this with others.
Yeah.
And so Melissa took me up on that, and here we are. And so congratulations to you, Melissa.
Yes.
Good to be here with you all. So the format is we're just going to play a short video. This one is only about 11 minutes. So pay attention and take some notes. And then we'll come back and have some discussion around that, okay? All right. Good stuff, huh? So he did a quick recap of what we've been discussing in the previous weeks also, the various perspectives. So I'm just going to do a quick little summarization of what John shared today, and then we'll dive into some questions. And for those of you that are following along with us, we're really just going to dive into some discussion here. Nobody knew this, nobody's seen this, and we're not trying to, teach you. We're really trying to wrestle with the subject matter. And as we wrestle with it, the idea is that that's where the round table kicks in, and one idea triggers another, which triggers another. And we all come away from this understanding the principles just a little bit more so that we can apply them to our lives. So John just shared two perspectives today. One was to realize that motions influence emotions. Action influences our emotions. He shared a quote by Dr. George Crane that said, "Motions are the precursors of emotions." And the belief is that emotions are responses to circumstances and events that we cannot control. But the action that those emotions trigger in our lives is entirely up to us. So we can control the actions. And so he gave example, I feel, that's the emotion, and so I will act. And so he said, if I feel depressed, for example, then I will sing. If I feel sad, then I will laugh. If I feel fear, then I will express faith. If I feel insignificant, then I'll remember my purpose. And so the idea is that we can turn negative emotions into positive action. And the last thing that John said about that, which is so vital, is that the sooner we have that recovery time, the sooner that we counteract that negative emotion with a positive action, is the quicker we'll have recovery and the better we'll make of the situation. And then the last one that he touched on is the fact that today matters. Make today count. And the adversity is filled with uncertainty about tomorrow. So we must turn our attention on today. that's what we can control. We can control today. And so if we take care of today, then that will take care of tomorrow. And he talked about, from the book, he actually has 12 things in that book, and he kind of ran through them. I won't go through all of them right now, but just for today, I will choose the right attitude. I will act on the right priorities. I will follow healthy guidelines. I will care for my families. And he talked about 12 things that are important to him, that if he can just focus on doing those things today, then he will see the compounding results of a day lived well. And so with so much uncertainty that we have right now, right? So much going on. We don't know what's going to happen with the schools. We don't know what's going to happen with the shutdown. Are we going to shut down again? We don't know what's going to happen with this increase in positive results that we're seeing. There's so much uncertainty yet. We don't know how long this thing is going to last, right? So much uncertainty. But so we can't control that. But what we can control is today, what we do today. And if we can really focus on that. So, all right, that's a quick summary. Good teaching, right? Good lessons, right, Dwayne?
Yes.
All right. So let's dive into some questions here now. Michelle, maybe I'll come to you first on this one. All right.
Okay.
So here is the first one. Why is it so easy, Michelle? In your opinion, why do you think it's so easy to let emotions overwhelm us in times of crisis? Why do you think it's so easy for us to allow emotions to overwhelm us in times of crisis?
I think as human beings, we're inclined to be reactive to things, and our emotions are very fickle, and they're not necessarily rational, right? But we have them. So in a crisis, it's unexpected, and you don't really have time to prepare for it, right? Because it's unexpected. So the emotional reactions, I think, just naturally just start flowing, right, as human beings. So I think that's why. And I think if we're aware of that, like, we have a responsibility to figure out how to best direct that, like John was saying, or Dr. Crane, if I feel, then I will, but it's ultimately a decision and something you have to kind of strategize to handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very good. And you're getting a little bit ahead of me with that, because I am going to touch on that thing that you talked about. But what I liked about what you said so far is the idea is that it just happens, right? If we are feeling those things as things happen in our lives, we are affected emotionally. So it's kind of a natural reaction. And so during times of crisis, as we're experiencing difficulty, it's going to affect us emotionally. That's what I heard you saying. That's a really good point. Dwayne, do you have anything to add to that same question? In your opinion, so it's just what you think. Why is it so easy to let emotions overwhelm us in times of crisis?
I think it's basically what he said, that emotions are responses to our circumstances. And I think a lot of times we don't see ourselves in the space that we can master them. We just feel like we're victims of them. And as we feel them, we just have to respond however they tell us to, not realizing that there's really an opportunity for us to direct how we respond. And so I think in those opportunities, we start really seeing how tremendous we can be and engaging all of the things that are happening and moving in the direction that we ultimately want to go. So I think understanding that crisis and those things all come with a tremendous opportunity, accepting that, wow, this has happened and things may not be the same after it, but I can be different. So I really like that note that he made, just understanding and how we can define our reality. We tend to not understand that. And so we just let it overwhelm us and we get stuck in it and we never move forward. When we can really just pause and say, wait a minute, this did happen. The emotion, I may not be able to control, but the motion I can.
That's really good. So it happens and it builds upon itself if we don't keep it in check. That's what I hear you saying. Thank you, Dwayne. Melissa, anything to add to that? I know they covered it pretty well already, but why is it so easy to let emotions overwhelm us in times of crisis?
I would just add that sometimes it just seems like the crisis is almost like a black hole, right? It's just like this swirling thing that sometimes we feel like we just don't have any control over. And like Dwayne was saying, sometimes we don't realize that this is an opportunity for us to really just take a step back and look at it for what it is. And for those of us that's lived for a little while, we know that we come through many trials in our lives. And for the overwhelming majority of those times, we come out to be better people with, just so many tools that we develop in times of crisis. But when we're within that black hole that I'm calling it, we just tend to just get swallowed up by all of that that's going on and social media and the TV and the news. Everything is just bombarding you, and you just feel like you just end up letting that take control instead of just stepping outside of that and being able to realize that this is an opportunity for growth, really. That's what I would add.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, bombarded, that's exactly what we're experiencing right now, right? It's coming from all different angles. You turn on the TV, you turn on whatever you turn on, you're hearing all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, so Wayne, maybe I'll come to you first on this one. Thank you, guys. Great stuff right there. So the next question is, why do you think motion or action is such an effective countermeasure against negative emotion? Why do you think that action is such a good or effective countermeasure against negative emotion?
There's something about momentum, that positive change, moving in any direction. I think sedentary lifestyles and sedentary responses to things have a tendency to make us sit in the darkness. Whereas when we're moving, we start to realize that it's not over. So I think that the ability to move, to go in another direction and say, you know what, this has happened, but I'm not going to get stuck in it. It just seems to me like it's a better alternative to just sitting there and allowing that reality to define us when we can define it.
Good stuff. So momentum starts to pick up, and the opposite of just sitting and allowing things to happen and fester, you're saying it creates a momentum that we can build upon. Good stuff. Michelle, anything to add to that? Why do you think that action is such an effective countermeasure to negative emotions?
Yeah, I love that word that Dwayne used, momentum. Yeah, that is so true. I think anything you're doing can have a positive momentum going forward, just as easy as it can have a negative momentum, kind of dragging you in a direction that you don't necessarily want to go in. I would also add that not only can you make a decision to do something to counter an emotion, but the motion can come first, which I think is pretty important, because we can discipline ourselves to do the acts. I think about working out. Sometimes we don't feel like it, eating right, whatever, but when you actually discipline yourself and you do it, then it just automatically, you get the emotions that you need that you otherwise wouldn't have gotten if you didn't, do the action. So I think having discipline in this discussion is so important, to maybe turn off the TV sometimes, so that, certain things that might trigger a negative emotion, or something that that you could do that's healthy, that would trigger a positive reaction, right? I think those are the kind of doing things that maybe sometimes we can put in front of, or get in front of it, instead of having the emotion and then having to respond.
Wow, that's really good. Melissa, it's going to be tough to come to you. There's a lot of good stuff shared. I like the example, especially Michelle, because the example, sometimes, we might feel like, all right, we can't change our emotions, right? But I think the example that you gave about exercise, we can all relate to that, right? We might not feel like going to exercise, but then all of a sudden when we're actually exercising, we're saying, wow, why am I not doing this every day? Because we're feeling
It's
good.
great. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So it really does literally change the emotions. So I think the example is really good. Melissa,
Yeah.
anything to add to that?
So we have a couple of comments here, and one from Chad that says, consistency makes action the path to stability and results. And I think that's really a good point, because just being consistent with your action, even in times of crisis, like get up, do something. It's like we're so tempted when we wake up in the morning and the realization of what we're going to be confronted with for the day
Wow.
is enough to just make you say, okay, do I really want to get up? Do I want to have to deal with this for the rest of the day? But just consistently just taking action every morning, is just the key to stability. Like Chad said, thank you so much for that comment, Chad.
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
Danica also was asking, how do we encourage others when they seem to be in that black hole for months? And there's a couple tools that I've gotten over the years as far as when you just feel like you're in a black hole of despair, to just kind of, you have to be able to just step back, step out of yourself, because sometimes you can just kind of go out of control in your mind, but you just have to be able to take a moment and just gather yourself. I don't know if you have any advice, Robin, on that, on how do we encourage others when they seem to be in that black hole for months?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys should weigh in on that, because you're doing it. I think like even just a group like what we're meeting with on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would really like to hear what you would say about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, for example, what would you suggest for somebody who's found themselves getting stuck in the negative emotion? What can you do to help them?
I think be a friend, and acknowledge what they're going through, right? Because it's easy for us when we're like, all right, go get it. We're like on a different mindset, but
Right.
people are where they are. So you kind of got to meet them where they are and acknowledge what they're going through. And hopefully, like I said, be a friend. And with that acknowledgement, you can slowly show them another way, pivot, invite them to do something that's uplifting with you. Send little positive things to them.
Yeah.
I think it's just those little seeds, and you basically recognizing, what the person is going through, and it's real. But then also having the faith that they can come out of it, and just sowing little seeds.
Yeah.
I like that. So you're getting there with them first of all. You're being a friend. You're acknowledging the emotion, and then you're actually doing so you're helping them to take the action. You're bringing them with you. I love that, Michelle. So you're saying the same thing that we're talking about here today, and you're just helping them to actually take the action,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing them along with you. I love that. Dwayne, anything to add to that? To was it Danica?
That was Danica.
Yeah.
Danica Mandy.
Danica, anything to put out there to help Danica with that, Dwayne? If you have somebody.
Yes, Michelle said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle said something that I think is key, and a friend of mine says that those who pivot will prosper. So being able to kind of move from a situation to the next thing, and I think it's really powerful for us to allow people to feel the pain, right? To not for someone to say they're going through crisis and say, well, it's not that bad, or you're going to be okay. Allowing people to have that moment, and then embracing that moment as an opportunity, like John said, to understand that everything worthwhile is uphill. Wow, this is a crisis. On the other side of this, man, you're going to have a phenomenal story. Let's use this as an opportunity to get to the next thing. I think those are all seeing everything as an opportunity, not being defined by it, but defining it. I think that's an opportunity.
I like that. Yeah, you've used that word a few times, opportunity, and it's so true. So you're helping them to see. You're bringing perspective to them. That's what I hear you saying. You're helping them to see the perspective of we're going to get through this, and it's going to be better on the other side.
Right.
That's awesome. And but you're starting with being there. You're empathizing with them, just like Michelle said. That's good stuff. Melissa, what's your thoughts? What do you think you could do to help situation?
And Chad just submitted a comment, which I think is right along the lines of what I was going to say.
Okay.
To help that friend, many of us have read many books that we've been so encouraged by, and it helped to change the direction of our lives. And just referring positive books with positive messages to be able to affirm a positive way of living, to be able to get the tools of turning negative into positive, just being able to give them the tools to help them out of that situation. And holding them accountable too, because you don't want to just give them a book and then don't call them for months. You want to be able to help them out of it. And sometimes these people, you're in a black hole, you're not going to be able to get out of it yourself. You're just going to be like quicksand.
Yeah.
So you need that helping hand of a friend to help you, to pull you out of that situation. So you need to come alongside that friend and just be there, affirming with them and positive messages to help them get out of it.
I love that, Melissa. And if you would allow me, you're actually doing that right now, even with this feed. I know that from your heart, what you want to do is, as we wrestle with these things, the thought is that there are others that can benefit from this. And so that's right. You're doing it. That's cool.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Good job. All right. So this is a little personal now. How do you typically respond to a negative emotion? How do you typically respond? We all get them, right? But how do you typically respond when you do have a negative emotion, and why? And maybe, Melissa, maybe I'll come to you first on this one.
Okay.
How do you typically respond to a negative emotion, and why?
Okay, so whenever, because I'm the type, and my husband will tell you, I'm not a fan of the news. I just don't like watching it, and it affects me because I do tend to get emotional when people are presenting certain negative things. So I tend to run. So, when I say run, like I just try to, like I'll literally be on the couch watching TV, and if something comes on that's negative or some news, some disaster, I will physically get up and just leave and go to another room where I can get some positive messages, because it does it affects your mindset. So, why do you want to sit there and listen about, all the wars and torment and trouble and destruction that's going on in the world, and just cloud up your mind? So I just tend to run from those things and try to stay in a positive mindset at all times as much as possible.
So you stay away from it. You really run and run to positive. So you stay away from the negative input and try to put positive in. Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely.
Dwayne, anything to add to that, or actually, it's a personal question, right? What do you do? How do you respond or react typically to a negative emotion, and why?
I saw a comment by Janet Holness, I believe. I tend to be triggered by things. So I'm very mindful of negative emotion because I will start shutting down. I might isolate myself. I'll say, I'm just going to take a minute. And I realized that about myself a few years ago. So what I try to do is to be aware of when it's happening, because be aware of what is happening and be aware of the triggers, because I know where it's going to take me. So when I get to that point, I take a second, I get very reflective, and then I decide what am I going to do from here.
Mhm.
So you kind of get back and reflect. So that's your trigger, and you try to be aware of it and then step back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part. I'll leave the other part out.
Say that again.
I said for the most part, I'll leave the other part out.
Uh-oh. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Michelle, anything to add to that? How do you typically respond to negative emotion, and why?
Yeah, so I guess the negative emotions for me, like it seems like whatever emotion that's negative, it tends to turn into worry for me. I don't know. So I have to do things that are like very grounding when that happens. Like just maybe it might seem like isolation, but I have to like kind of like go outside, take a walk, you know, call my mother, just like, just things that bring you back into like, it's okay. Like I'm breathing, I'm walking, I'm like, just like things that just really bring me back to like, okay, I got this.
Yes. That's one of the things I like about this group is that you guys are very aware. So Michelle just said something very aware that, I know that normally leads to me worrying. Knowing that about ourselves is so important. And so I commend you for that awareness, and then you can do something about it. And it's so cool, the things that you share, the grounding you call it. That's really good stuff. Call your mom. Go outside into nature. But it's acknowledging first of all that you know that it can have this effect on you. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So did I give everybody a chance on that one? Melissa, did I give you a chance on that one?
Yes, you did. You did, yes. Mm-hmm.
So this one, you guys kind of already started to answer this. So, if you have something to add, please do. But all of you, I think, have kind of already kind of got in that mode of what you can do about it. So I'm going to ask you, what can you do today to turn a negative emotion into a positive action? So you kind of touched on that a little bit, but Dwayne, maybe I'll start with you on this one. But what can you do?
Like, don't start with me.
What can you do today to turn a negative emotion into a positive action? What can you do actually?
Yeah, I think the answer came actually in the presentation. Do the right things now and understand that everything else will take care of itself. If we take that moment when we're feeling the negative emotion to just do the right thing, to be mindful of the fact that we have an opportunity to sit in this or to do the right thing, I think that's the first step in the action. Because a lot of times for me, I feel like when I'm making the action, that's the first step. No, the decision to take action is the first step. So I think, that's for me very, very telling about where I'm going to go. In the past, I might say, I'm going to go sit and talk to someone who is going to take this and make it even worse. Whereas now I say, no, I'm going to have a reflective moment. I might call my mom too, someone who I know to go in the right direction, or say, son, just be calm, or just don't say anything to him. Don't say anything to her. Being mindful, being very selective of who we bring into that negative emotion, because a lot of times those people can end up taking it even further. So I think, just doing the right thing up front, saying, whatever the emotion is, I'm going to do the right thing, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Wow. So you did really kind of tie that in with, I think, today matters and making today count. And now is the only moment of time that we have control right now. And and it's not, even that sometimes it's easy. Don't you find sometimes it's easy for us to say that, but how does it actually work? I mean, how do we actually do that? Do you have anything to add to that? Like, how do you actually play that out?
I won't say I won't say I have it to a science.
And I don't think
so
I mean, like literally, how can we? Because I don't think anybody has full control over that, Dwayne. I don't think anybody does.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So but how do we? Like how does that actually play out for you?
Right. For me, it's mindfulness. For me, it's just being very mindful about everything. So understanding that everything is connected to something, and not allowing myself to go anywhere I don't want to go. So I need to be aware of my triggers. I need to know that certain things that are said, that even with social media, as much as I enjoy social media, I can feel when it's taking me farther than I want to go. So I think, just planning, being intentional about our planning and of our time and our emotions is important. So for me, it's just being mindful.
Wow. So mindfulness, awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Dwayne. Melissa, coming to you with that same question. What can you do today to turn a negative emotion into a positive action?
So I'm just going to include some of the comments that we're getting from Quincy Brown, who said to figure out what is causing the negative emotion, to kind of determine what is lacking, and then find or make a bridge. I think that's so important because sometimes, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, where you're like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel down? So it's like,
yeah,
the thing you have to do is decide, okay, what is causing this feeling? Because it's not always evident, Sometimes you think, oh, somebody said something to you and now you're upset. So that's the easy one. But sometimes you just cannot figure out what is making you feel so down. So figuring that out first is going to be the key to helping you to take, switch it to the positive. And then I see that Chad also said to add love and remember gratitude. You know what? When it comes to having negative emotions, if you're just grateful that you are alive and that you're able to speak and eat good food and enjoy the sun, like seriously, it just automatically makes everything seem so trivial. Like, why am I having a bad day when I have all of these other things going on for me? So gratitude has been very key in my life as well, to make sure that I'm just having that time to be grateful. And when you're grateful, you just cannot come out of that in a bad mood. You just can't. So I think that's important.
That's awesome. Man, good comments there, Chad. And Melissa, you do a good job of expanding upon them.
Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks for participating there. We appreciate that. Michelle, anything to add to that? How can you today turn negative emotion into a positive action?
I think for me anyways, I tend to, have patterns, right, of thinking and patterns of emotions, right? So I guess if I could identify those patterns and kind of have something like a strategy where I have something to negate it. Maybe like we're talking about a remembrance of some time when, remember when you had that negative emotion and it all worked out in the end anyways, or even, some kind of scripture, some kind of affirmation, just something that you can quickly grab in your mind to kind of turn it around, turn it in a different direction.
Like that.
That's what I would say.
Before, Michelle, that's really good. So in other words, you're ready with that scripture or that affirmation when you find yourself there. And then also you mentioned looking back at times that you may have had victories through something that, where you had emotion also. That's good stuff. That's really good. Thank you, guys. That's awesome. All right. So I hope you guys are enjoying this out there. Is this rich stuff or what? All right. So let's see. Michelle, I'll come back to you on this one. Why is it so easy to worry more about tomorrow than to focus on today? Why is it so easy, so much easier to worry about tomorrow than it is to focus on today?
When you're not doing enough, that's when that happens. If you're doing what you set out today, I think if you plan your day and have a goal, I think you're busy on today. You don't have capacity to worry about tomorrow because you filled up your day with action that you got to take care of today. So there's no room to worry about tomorrow. So I think it's when we're too idle, maybe, we get to thinking about too far ahead of ourselves.
Wow, that's good stuff. John talked about preparing. That's what I hear you saying, right? So if you've really organized yourself, and it's so true. When I think about what you're saying, the more that I am focused on what I'm doing, the more that I have in front of me to do, is the less time I have to be thinking about. Yeah, that's really good. All right, Wayne, anything to add to that, sir? What it why is it so easy to worry more about tomorrow than to focus on today?
Yeah, so Michelle took my answer. I think it's exactly that. I think when we are not full, when we haven't taken a moment to be present and we're not busy enough. If we have enough time to be worried about time where we're not even in, then we don't have enough to do. So I think it's important for us to, and not only do we not have enough time we don't have enough to do, we're not being mindful of how to be where we are and be there completely. So I think that's very important. Where are you right now? If you're thinking of the hours of the day today, how much of that have you spent doing what is, congruent with what you set out to do, this morning?
Yeah. And it's so right. It's so true what you're saying. I get it. I can see it in myself. But does it not happen also that you are focused, that you have the day planned, but yet you can get caught up thinking about, all the uncertainties of tomorrow and thinking about, when are we going to go back and what's that going to look like? And, all that kind of stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
I think Melissa wants to answer that.
Yeah. Add to that equation. Why is it so easy to worry more about tomorrow than to focus on today? Anything to add? It's stuff already, but
I don't know why. It just seems like human nature. It's like you have your goals, and instead of thinking about today and how you can make things happen today, you just start worrying and concentrating on where you wanted to be the end of the year. And why do we do that to ourselves? I have no idea. It's so stressful because you're like, oh my goodness, I don't think I'll be able to make it. I don't think I'll be able to do this. I don't think I'll be. Just do what you can today. There's a lot that can be done today. And you spend hours talking about how terrible it'll be if you don't achieve your goals, or if you don't get to that positive end that you want. So I don't know. It's just human nature, and you just have to be in control of your mind. That's why they say mindfulness is so important. Just stepping out of that conversation, that busy chatter in your head, and deep within, that you can make things happen today, but then you just choose to do otherwise. So we just have to be able to step back and say, okay, we know that this is the right thing to do. Concentrate on today. And you have to constantly tell yourself that all day. That happens to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true. So you're concentrating on today. You're sticking to the plan that you have and being mindful.
Yeah.
Wow. It's very helpful. I need that.
Yes.
Because yes, there's so much happening. Sometimes I can get distracted and lose my focus. How might focusing on today ease our fears about tomorrow? How might focusing on today ease our fears about tomorrow? Let's see, Melissa, I'll come back to you on that. How might focusing on today ease our fears about tomorrow?
Fears about tomorrow. Okay, because I'm trying to put in the question as well. um,
Yeah, you're multitasking.
so,
Boy.
I'm trying to do a number of things at the same time. So
As
so just being able to, because we know that that's what we should do. We know that we should be focusing on today.
Yeah.
And when you seem to, okay, I'm going to liken this on to my everyday business dealings that I have to go through.
Yeah.
And when I know what I need to do to achieve my goals, and I start to, basically, I have a checklist of everything that I need to do to be able to progress. It eases that worry of tomorrow. So I don't know why we don't just do that more often. Just concentrate on what we can do today, because once we really plug in and do those things, take those positive steps, it automatically makes those other things disappear. So that's really the key, is being able to say, okay, we know we're in a crisis. We know the things that we can do, the part that we can play to make things better. So let's do that. Let's really plug in. Let's really focus on doing everything that we can possibly do. And it's going to ease that worry and that stress and that fear that we have, because we're actively taking a role in becoming the solution.
Yeah. Very good. So it's similar to what you were saying, Michelle, where when we get focused like that, we don't have the time to be thinking about, because we're into it, we're engaged. Michelle, I don't know, did I say Melissa a while ago? Or I meant Michelle.
Did say Melissa.
Thank you. Sorry.
Eminem.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's not the first time, and hopefully it's the last time I do that.
Mhm.
But Michelle, anything to add to that? How does focusing on today ease our fears about tomorrow? I know you guys have said it well already, but
Yeah, I have to think about my business as well. I think getting really excited about what you have to do today, it helps. And it's almost like you kind of can create miniature days in one day by, time blocking, or, breaking up your schedule, and you say, okay, this time is for this, and I'm going to accomplish this, and, accomplishing it and really feeling happy and proud that you accomplished it. So I think some of that, like, psychologically helps to, like,
wow.
really focus on today
Yeah.
and not tomorrow.
Mhm.
Wow. So you're creating some wins, and you're creating some excitement, and you're accomplishing, and you're feeling good about yourself. And yeah, I can see how that could ease fears about the future, because you're making progress today.
Mhm.
Wow, that's good.
So, Robin, there was a comment by Quincy Brown.
Yeah.
He said, an innate fear of failure. Um, this is his answer to the question. There's an innate fear of failure. What if what if all we work on today is voided tomorrow? Rather than thinking, what if we all, um, we have worked on can turn out to be a great thing tomorrow?
Yeah.
In all things, you should give 100%, then trust God to do the rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I see that happens a lot, where you're saying, okay, what if I do everything and then, it's just all for nothing, rather than thinking, okay, if we do everything, then it could turn out to be great tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of being able to stick with that positive mindset.
Yeah.
And leave God to do all the rest, to work all the other stuff out for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Who was that? Quincy?
That was Quincy Brown.
Oh man, good stuff,
Yeah.
Quincy. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
Yes.
Dwayne, anything to add, sir?
I was just thinking about meditation again. I think that opportunity for us in the today and the mindfulness and the being present, as Quincy just said, if we are looking at how our actions today reduce, the fear of what's going to happen tomorrow, thinking about the fact that if I get everything done today, tomorrow's going to be a better day. I think those are all opportunities for us just to really reduce that stress. To really sit, because it's a real thing. People literally fear the future. What's going to happen. I'm also an educator, and I know that I'm in a group chat where teachers every day are saying, "But what about this? What about that? What about this?" And my genuine response is, "What about today? What about this moment?" Because if we start strategizing today and thinking of all of the work that we can put in today on ourselves and on the situation, then tomorrow does, in essence, take care of itself.
Great stuff. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're winding down today, and it's been really rich again. I think one of the things I like about having discussions like this is that it helps us to internalize this and recognize that we're all capable of making these decisions one way or the other. We're all capable of having the emotions. We're all capable of focusing on tomorrow more than we do today. But having this type of discussion and hearing each other's thoughts on it goes a long way in helping us to actually, we're living it right now, right? We're in the crisis right now. And so it helps us to understand how we can make the most of it. So that's the idea. And it's been rich again. Michelle, I have 2 questions. We might not get to both. Let me start with one of them, and then we'll go around the circle and see how that works. So this one now is, how has the current crisis redefined your priorities? How has the current crisis redefined your priorities? Have any of your priorities changed?
I don't know if I would characterize it that way, but I would say the current crisis has made me, it's oddly enough, right? it's made me take things a lot less seriously, honestly, because at the end of the day, your health and well-being and ability to make a living, those kinds of things, at the end of the day, like, that's what's important, your health and that stuff. So it's like everything else, they're important, hustle to get them done, but it just makes me put everything kind of in a better perspective. I would say it that way.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
It's the same question to you.
Absolutely, I agree with what Michelle just said, because those that know me know that I'm Miss Workaholic. I work, and really my health was always secondary or third, fourth, fifth on the list. But man, this crisis just made you think about all the different ways that you need to take care of yourself. You need to be healthy, because all of those other things that you're trying to accomplish is not going to be possible without your health. So that's a lot of my priorities, just in that way, just making sure that I'm healthy, making sure that my family is doing well. I might call them quite a few more times now than I used to. Probably annoyingly so now. So, but I would probably say, but yeah, I mean it. I guess that would be the blessing in all of this, is that it did shift a lot of our priorities, to make sure that health and family is very important.
Right on. So Dwayne, I think you're going to close us out today, sir. Same question to you. How has the current crisis redefined your priorities? Have any of your priorities changed?
Yes. So unlike Michelle, I would characterize it that way, because for me, I'm just joking, Michelle. You know, it was I was really going hard before COVID. I was constantly somewhere, and now that I'm spending 99 hours a day in my house, it's helped me to it's helping me to realize, number one, I have 2 small children, and while I'm doing this, my son is asking me to put a Lego together. So I'm like, I'm live. So it's helping me to realize that my family is important, and also when I see things through their eyes, I realize that even though this is a global pandemic, to them, they're just at home. So I don't want to miss the moments as much as I want to stay on top of all of the things that I have to get done. I want to also ensure that the things that are still with me, I still have my health, I still have my family. There's so many great things that are still happening in spite of this, that I don't want to be a victim to it. I want to, be aware of it, but I don't want to just sit here like, oh my goodness, the world is ending, because it's not. It's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not.
Wow. Well, that's really good stuff, guys. I've learned quite a bit. I've taken some good notes from some of the thoughts that you've shared today. And I appreciate being a part of this group as we get together like this. Another great session. I think we're going to kind of, I'm going to turn it over to you, Melissa, however you feel to end this. I'm grateful to be a part of you guys. You help me each week.
Yes.
To turn adversity into advantage. So,
Well, thank you so much, Robin. Great mastermind, I would say. Great thoughts and views. Thank you to everyone that participated and tuned. We are looking at August 5th to be our next time together. And we just want to encourage you to join us back and be a part of it so we can share our thoughts and views together. And thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Dwayne, for your input. And we'll see you all again soon.
all right.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.